Hi, so we are back, and this is for my interpersonal communication class, and we're going to continue our discussion about communication in close relationships. And we left off talking about family communication and how one characteristic of family communication is it's formative in all the ways that it is formative. And now we're going to move on to the next. Okay, here we go. So, and if I didn't say this, I'm Professor Barry Brennan, if I forgot to say that. So, communication, characteristic of family communication is it's role driven, right? It's role driven. What do I mean by that? It means that everybody in the family, everybody has a role. And we're not talking about like roles like the person who does the dishes. We're talking more like someone's the mother or the caretaker, right? Someone's a mother figure. Even if you didn't have a mother, let's say your mother died when you were young and your grandmother or your aunt became your mother. That person has a role to play. And there are certain expectations we have with that role. Okay. Someone you might not have a father, right? But you probably have a paternal figure in your life. It could be your big brother. It could be your uncle. It could be your grandfather. It could be your best friend's father, right? So you probably have a paternal figure in your life. It could be someone who was your teacher, right? It could be someone that was your teacher in high school. It could be your teacher in college. You could be like, I'm going to give you an example. And I'm just going to sound like it's going off on a tangent, but I just want you to give you a little understanding of how important in families roles are important, but how important it is for us if we don't have that role that we end up seeking it out. So in my family, I had a mom and dad and a grandmother on my mom's side. My mom wasn't the most communicative person. God bless her, but she wasn't as communicative as my father. My father wasn't around because mostly he was working. I didn't see him that often. And he would come home late from work, and then on the weekends, sometimes he'd be busy doing something. So I didn't spend a lot of time with my father and didn't spend a lot of time with my mother, but she wasn't that kind of person to spend a lot of time with anyway. So as a result, I wanted a mother figure. So I would often seek out mother figures or women, older women that became mother figures to me, and through my teachers or people that I would meet. And I would have like these surrogate mothers. Okay. So I just want to make that point. I mean, this is kind of related to family communication, but we do that. It's natural that we do that. We want someone, we seek for someone to show us the way. Okay. That's what families help us develop, help us form all that. But it is role driven. We need someone that knows more than us, can show us what to do. Whether it's your mother or father, your brother or sister, whoever, grandparents, aunts and uncles. Okay, so it is role driven. So just like in this story, we have Olive is a daughter, right? And she's also a sister. She's a sister to her brother. I can't remember her brother's name right now. He has kind of an odd name. And then they have the parents, right? So they're a mother and father, but they're also husband and wife. And those roles, husband and wife, are different than mother and father, right? So all of this, we have roles of what is expected of us and how it's defined in a family of what's expected of us. Get it? So in this point also, Alan Arkin, he plays the grandfather. He's such a character in this film. He's a grandfather to Olive. The story is really all about, she's Little Miss Sunshine. Is about Olive, and he's a grandfather, but also he is the father. I'm pretty sure he's the father to the husband, the father to the father. So that should give you an idea of why it's role driven and all these roles that we play and their connections and how we talk to people. It drives our communication, but it drives also our behavior in families. And then what I love, I mean, he plays a typical teenager, but he definitely changes in this film. It's really, really beautiful. So he's a teenager. I don't know if you remember, and you might feel it right now, right? living at home, when you want to be on your own, you're not yet old enough to be on your own, but you're too young, but you feel old enough to be on your own because you have your own ideas. So you're kind of stuck in this place when you're a teenager. And it can be, as he says, welcome to hell, right? Welcome to hell means this is how, in fact, he took this is coming back to me, he took a vow of silence. So he actually, in his storyline, it changes over time, but he took this vow of silence where he wasn't talking to anyone. And he just write down his communication. He's a character. So it's involuntary. We don't get to decide who our parents are. We don't get to decide who our brothers and sisters are, or lack thereof, like me. We don't get to decide when we're a kid. We don't get to decide where our parents move, how many times they move, whether they change a job, whether they lose a job. All these things are involuntary, right? In a family, we just we're born into it, and that's it. Now, you can end up deciding when you're adult, I don't like my family, I don't want anything to do with them. You have that. But when you're part of a family as a child, it's not. It's involuntary. Those blood connections are involuntary. You can't say, I want to have that. You either have it or you don't. Okay? So another way to understand it. So it's role-driven, it is involuntary, and it's formative. Okay? Characteristics of the family. Now let's look at the family as a system. So it's interdependent. Remember that word? We love that word. Interdependent. It doesn't mean we're dependent. Okay, it doesn't mean that. It means together we help each other. Really, it doesn't mean dependence, doesn't mean like we're dependent on people. It means we need each other. We could stand alone. You can stand alone in a family. You can be an individual and stand alone and be independent. But really, family is a system we're interdependent. Let's go back to those roles and go back to like the easier things. Like maybe you have someone in your family who's always washing the dishes. In my family, my wife, she likes to wash the dishes every night. That's her thing. I'll let her do it. That's fine with me because I'm usually the cook. So she doesn't like to cook. I'm usually the cook. Does that mean that's my role in our relationship? Maybe. I don't know. I like to do it. She seems to like to do that. That makes her feel good. So it's interdependence. Could we stand alone? Could we both cook and we both do the dishes? Of course we can. But together we form an interdependence. So as a system, right, if there are more of us here in the system, I'm thinking about in my family, when I was growing up, we were interdependent. What my mom did, what my dad did. My dad was the breadwinner. My mom also had her own business, but didn't really, was successful enough to keep the business going, but that wasn't the prime thing that kept the family going in terms of monetarily. So he was a breadwinner, and my mom did what she did. My grandmother kept the house and made sure we had meals, and as well as my mom did that. And I was the kid who, I didn't have a lot of responsibility as a kid. I was very fortunate that way. But I did go to work, and then I eventually went to work, so I started to learn how to take care of myself when I was 15, when I could start working. So that's interdependence. So I wasn't so dependent upon them to give me money to take care of myself. I had my own money. Okay, that's how the system grows and changes. This interdependent. Okay, manifested through communication. This is an easy one. Communication is the driver of all relationships. Of course it's manifested through communication. How else are you going to have that family? Absolutely. An obvious one, right? It's nested. What the heck does that mean? What is a nest? Let's think about a nest for a minute. Let's think about the nest. Probably you all went to the nest, the bird nest, right? With the little birds in it. You see mama feeding, regurgitating her food for the birds, or feeding them a worm, or whatever's coming to your mind right now. Well, within that nest sits in a tree, right? The tree is planted in the ground. And around that tree is probably flowers, other kind of organisms, maybe grass. There's other birds. There's squirrels. Okay, so your family system is nested within a larger system. Okay, a larger, and I want you to think of it as like rings. Okay, so you've got your family right here. Your family. And your family, around your family, if we were in class, I'd be like drawing this is your family and like this round thing. And around your family is your extended family. Okay. Big as small, or as big or as small as it is. Your extended family. Okay. And they're probably close in here. And then outside of your extended family is your friends. And maybe extended family and friends. Maybe depending on how your family is, maybe your friends are there closer than your extended family. Okay. And then so you have your friends and your family around here. And then outside of that, you have like your neighborhood, your community that you live in. Okay. Think about communication. Manifested through communication. Think about that. Then you have other systems like your education system, the city that you live in. It's nested within these other systems and it kind of spreads out. But it's for your point of view, as you being that member of the family, you are nested within a larger system. Okay. The larger system being what? The universe, I guess. But another larger system, the nation, the state of California, the city of Fresno, or whatever city you live in. Okay. All right. So family as a system is more than the sum of its parts. So all of you are members of that family. But if you recall, when you've met your friend's family, families take on a personality of their own as a unit. So the family itself is bigger, is more powerful than all those, the sum of its parts, meaning all those individuals. It becomes a thing. There's a personality with a family. All right. Communication patterns within families. We're going to look at what we call modes of conversation and levels of conformity. And I'm going to stop here because this is pretty detailed and it's going to take me more than 3 minutes to talk about this. And we're going to pick up on the next video. Okay, bye.